Thank you everyone for joining us. Let me turn off. Got to turn off my audio from my computer. So thank you again, everyone for joining us. Today is May 23rd, 2024, and it's our city council meeting. This meeting is our public meeting of the City of Soledad Joint Council Successor Agency Housing Authority and Successor Housing Agency special meeting of Thursday, March 23rd. So again, thank you all of those that are joining us here for our special meeting, those that are here in the chamber with us, and also those that are joining us out via Zoom. So before we begin, and I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:05. And I will just begin with a couple of announcements, as I typically do in regards to the participation for today's meeting. So members of the public can participate here if they have any public comments. Civic engagement is really critical for us and important to the council, and important to the governance of the city. So you can participate today, joining us here in the chambers. You can also participate and join us via Zoom. The meeting ID is located on the agenda, but for today, it's 892-9913-1607. You can also join us via telephone to make comments, and the number is 1-669-900-6833, and this number is the same for all of our meetings. Again, just as a reminder, the meeting is being streamed live on our YouTube channel, as this is a more efficient streamlining technology that we just moved to. And this meeting is also we also have a translator for today, correct? Okay, perfect. So we do have translations available. So with that, I will turn it over to our city clerk for roll call, please.
Mayor Ana Velasquez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Maria Corlejo.
Here.
Councilmember Fernando Cabrera.
Here.
Councilmember Fernando Ansaldo.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So we have a quorum, so we'll move on to our next item of business, which is additions or modifications to the agenda. And my understanding is we don't have any, but I will check in with our city manager.
We do not, and I just wanted to make sure we do the pledge. of
Yes, yes.
allegiance.
So I moved on to the next item, which was additions or modifications. But at this time, if you can please join me in doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and if we can please stand. And I will ask Maria Sanchez if she can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to additions or modifications to the agenda. Do we have any for tonight?
There are none.
Okay, we have none. So then we will move on to our public comments. So at this time, any member of the public may address the city council on items that are not appearing on the agenda and items of interest to the public that are within the jurisdiction of the city council. Please be mindful that you do have 3 minutes. And if you're going to speak, if you're here in the chambers, if you can please come up to the podium so we can hear you. And if you're joining us via Zoom, I will transition to Zoom. And if you can please raise your hand so that way we can acknowledge you and make sure that you're unmuted. And so at this time, I'll start with those that are joining us here in our chamber. Are there any members of the public that wish to make comments on items not on the agenda?
Mayor Velasquez, members of the city council, my name is John Ardunas, and I'm a member of the Soledad Cemetery Board. And we just had our cemetery not looking very good, and we're gonna have an event this Saturday from 10 to 2 and Sunday from 10 to 2, where people can come in and help us maintain the weeds, because we want to have it ready for Memorial Day. And Chaplain Brooks is in the board. Desiree Barba, me and her have been doing some volunteer work there on our own together. And then Eva Banguelos is here. She was just appointed. And then Jessica Rodriguez. And I spoke a few months back that Cause while I was in the planning commission years back, I remember Nader Aga told us that he donated some land for a cemetery for the future. And the one that was in the board, the president said that land wasn't his. So I already discovered now that land is our land. So, we're gonna have the land available to put a cemetery for the future. So far things are looking very well. So if any of you have a chance, Saturday or Sunday, we're gonna be out there from 10 to 2 and we're gonna be, there's about 15 kids that are gonna come and it's open to anybody that wants to come and help us clean up the cemetery. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Ordonez, and thank you so much for all the volunteers that are already scheduled to go to have the cemetery ready and properly aesthetically for our Memorial Day celebrations. Thank you.
Madam
Well-
Mayor, can I make a comment? I know we're not supposed to respond, but I was wondering maybe if the city could just post about it on social media.
Sure.
And then in some sort
Yeah.
of way, Public Works can be able to help.
If you have a flyer, if you can just leave it here so we can post it on social media.
Here's where Barbara put it in Facebook.
Okay, so we will try to gather that from Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So, any other members of the public that wish to make a comment on items not on the agenda?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, good evening, council. My name is Eva Bañuelos, and I am going to talk about our 4th of July event. It is set for, of course, 4th of July, at the Soledad, Little League Park, which is a Chester Aron Park. And festivities is going to be family games, some entertainment. We're gonna have a display of, a tentative dozer from Camp Roberts, also in collaborating with, maybe having some participation with our city, safety, our police, and also, our fire department. Again, this is going to be free, and please come, during the day. We have, games, we have our children's parade starting at noontime, and it's a walk parade. We start at Main Street School, and then we walk to the Little League Park. So anyone can participate with families and, just dress patriotic. And also that weekend is, of course, our hot summer days, here for the city of Soledad. And please come out and support. And another one is, well, it's too soon, but the Christmas parade. So that's gonna be the very first Saturday of December. So just wanted to throw that out there to everyone and in the community and everyone that's on Zoom. Please spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to go back. Sorry, I don't want to ignore the comment made by Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez in regards to public works support for the cemetery. So I know it's not, it's a special district, so it's separate. So can you just respond directly to whether that's possible or not?
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't do that because there are taxpayer funds for the maintenance of that district. And so we receive a different funding from the community to take care of the city as a whole. But certainly we can encourage our employees to volunteer and support. But in terms of actually having Public Works do the maintenance, they wouldn't be able to do that legally.
Thank you. I just want to make sure it's clear and for our residents as well in terms of that request. Any other members of the public that are joining us here in our chambers? Okay, seeing none, then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. So any members that are joining us via Zoom wish to make a comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, I see no hands raised, so I will bring it back then to the council. We'll move forward. Just the written public comments, I keep forgetting to mention that, but did we receive any written public comments?
No.
Okay. Seeing that we have no written public comments, and we'll move on to our business item for today. And today we have the process and action to fill the council vacancy. We do have several reports that were attached to the document that were available for our public as well, for our residents. We have the staff report, resolution number 6094, and then we have 4 applications that were part of the staff report for the council, but also for our community members to view. So at this time, I will turn it over to our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And I did want to note that our city attorney is online via Zoom, so he's also available to answer any or to provide legal guidance tonight. So tonight, I wanted to kind of lay out how the process is going to go for this evening. This staff did receive direction from the council, and the way that this is going to be done is similar to other processes that the city has undertaken, and actually other cities in Monterey County. But tonight, the city council will consider an appointment to an at-large council seat vacated when Councilmember Jimenez resigned on March 31st, 2024. At its meeting of April 3rd, the city council provided guidance to staff on the process to fill this vacancy. The process will include council interviews of the applicants, followed by council deliberation, and then ideally the appointment of one person to fill the city council vacancy. The process is going to proceed as follows. In order to ensure a fair and transparent process, applicants will be interviewed one at a time by the council. Until their turn, the applicants will be located in a city hall conference room, and applicants will be restricted from using mobile devices or other technology while in the conference room. As Darlene mentioned, we have some snacks to keep it pleasant for you. Applicants will be escorted to council chambers individually for their interview until all applicants have been interviewed. Once you've been interviewed, you can remain in council chambers. Applicants will have up to 5 minutes to make an opening statement or introduction to the city council. The council will then conduct the interview with the mayor and council members, each asking one question for a total of 4 questions. These questions have been provided to the applicants yesterday at 5 p.m. Follow-up questions or modifications to the questions provided by the city clerk will not be allowed. Applicants will have 2.5 minutes to respond to each question. The last question that you will be answering is, why should the council appoint you for the council seat over other candidates? And this is somewhat of a wrap-up question, so you can use this as an opportunity to provide a brief closing statement. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide public comment following the interview proceedings. Public comments will be restricted to 3 minutes per speaker. The city council, after this occurs, will have an opportunity to deliberate and then make comments. After the deliberation is completed, the council will open the nomination and voting process. A motion for nomination for appointment may be made by any council member and deemed approved if it receives at least 3 affirmative votes. The appointee will fill the vacancy until a successor is elected in in the November 5th, 2024 general municipal election. The council will adopt the associated resolution, which is resolution number 6094, which will memorialize the council's action and appointment tonight. I did want to note that the city is moving to district elections, which will take place and will be in place for the November 5th election, meaning that future candidates for the seat must live in the 3rd district. This district will eventually be called 3rd district. And the appointee's oath of office and first meeting will occur on June 5th, 2024. And then I did want to note the 4 questions, I'm not sure if council needed the 4 questions printed up, to start the interview process, but,
I have the questions.
okay,
Unless
I-
you want to
copy
print it.
if possible.
I don't have the question.
Okay, so
But point of information, I just wanna have some more clarity on the process. So from my understanding is that we are going to listen to the folks' interview, then we will deliberate, and then we will vote, because if I remember correctly, I think in 2022, when we did this, it wasn't very clear if those 2 items were separate or if they can kind of happen whenever. So I just wanted to just have some clarity, or if we, as the 4 of us, can come to a consensus to allow the comments from each council member to be finished, and then maybe have our mayor ask if we're ready to move forward, just for transparency and for the public to be aware that we're finished speaking.
Yeah, that's exactly how it will happen tonight. There will be time, and kind of mentioned in the staff report for deliberation, you can comment on the interview, so each person will have an opportunity to comment. And then once everyone has an opportunity to comment, then the mayor will, entertain a motion if there is a motion to move forward with any one candidate. But definitely it won't, there'll be time for comments and deliberation before you get to the nomination process.
I have a point
Yeah,
of
so-
information as well. While we
Is
wait
it-
for our copies.
Okay, point of clarification, then just so if there's, so let me open it up for questions before then, that way if we have comments from what Megan provided, I wanna make sure we stick to what, the instructions were, and if it's in regards to the appointment process, then I wanna make sure that we're responding to that and not, asking questions that are not within the purview of the appointment process. So Council, Mayor Pro Tem Corralejo.
Thank you. So yes, my question is regarding the report you gave on the vacancy appointment process. So just as a point of information and for clarification, when it comes to the, I guess after the interviews are all completed, then there will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide public comment following those interview proceedings. Is that period of public comment open also to the candidates or only to the public?
Only to the public.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any final comments, clarifications? Okay, thank you. And council, I will do my due diligence to make sure that we enforce several items here. One is the time restrictions, because we want to make sure that we allow for each candidate to have the same equal amount of time. And then also I will make sure that I articulate when we're in deliberation and allow for each of the council members to be able to provide their, their comments. And then I will clearly articulate when we go into now the voting process or the nomination process. So that way we're all on the same page. And I think we do have a timer as well. So for the candidates, there is a timer, so we can make sure that it's not, I don't know if it rings loud, but it will notify.
Yeah, Darlene will take care of it, but it'll be.
Okay, perfect. It will beep. So when it beeps, please make sure that you adhere to that time. So.
And I'll also be taking time.
Okay, so then with that, Megan, do you want to go into the report or the report portion?
Yeah, I think the instructions really clearly outline the report. I just will say that as I mentioned before, this is to fill a vacancy that was created when Councilmember Jimenez resigned, which his resignation took effect on March 31st. This is an at-large appointment, and so the appointment vacancy is for a period of 7 months and will expire once the new elected person takes their oath of office. We did receive 4 applications that met the criteria by the May 15th deadline. Evarista Banuelos, I hope I pronounced your first name right, as I know you as Eva. Carol Cordova Anderson, Eugene Edward Ivy, and Joseph Ruiz. And as we kind of described, there will be an interview section. The public will have an opportunity to comment after the candidate interviews. The council in the long day, should discuss the city's needs, desired qualifications of the applicants, and any any other matter that the council deems relevant to the selection process. I think it's nice to comment on the candidates themselves who are putting themselves forward, which we greatly appreciate. And thank you for. The council then, after the deliberation, would open the nomination and voting process. And I mentioned that the council, or that the candidate, whoever's selected today, would be seated at the next regularly scheduled council meeting, which is June 5th, where you would take the oath of office. I did want to mention that we are so honored that you applied for this honor. But we hope that if you are not selected, you will seriously consider serving on one of our committees. We have a lot of vacancies on the Measure S committee. There's also a vacancy on the Mission Rec committee as a city appointment. And we hope you consider being involved in the general plan. So we will, after this, reach out to the folks that aren't selected and see if we can engage you in other ways with the city, because we're very pleased that you put yourself out there.
Through the chair,
Mhm.
as we go through the process, I was wondering if there's possible that we can have the time so that they can see it. Cause I was watching the Salinas, and sometimes they run out of time because they don't see it. And I feel like if they see that time running, they will be able to finish their thoughts and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
if you actually look right there, there's a little display, that's right on that little thing, and right now it says three minutes.
Okay, so it's
Ah,
visible. We see this timer, but you all will see this timer, so perfect, thank you.
Quick question as well. What happened to the big one?
We have it,
Oh.
We were just demoing that before, I had no idea that
Yeah.
you did that.
we didn't know,
Yeah.
our instructions were, we didn't know about the timing and all that.
That's right.
So
I
we'll.
was just asking, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. So what we'll do, just to reiterate, the timer is gonna be here. And then you'll have the little indicator that's gonna tell you when the time is up. So again, we hope that mechanism is enough to be able to get us through the process. So thank you.
And what I can do is, I know this may look a little odd on TV, but when you get down to 1 minute on your time, I can hold up 1 minute, 30 seconds. So when you see me holding up a paper, I'll let you know when you have 1 minute left, 30 seconds left. So I'll also keep time to help you.
Yeah. Well, thank you then, everyone. So with that, Megan, then we'll start, and I know we have all the candidates here. What we're gonna do is, we will bring the candidates, each one. And we do have them as part of the staff report. They are in alphabetical order, so they were decided by alphabetical order. So we will begin with Evarista Banuelos, then Carol Cordova Anderson, then Eugene Edward Ivy II, and then Joseph Ruiz. So once we begin the process, we will ask the other candidates to step out of the room where Megan says there's goodies and whatnot. And then once we conclude with that candidate, we'll ask the other candidate to come in. And if you can please have a seat in here while the other candidates finish, so we can have all the candidates, here by the end of the process. So with that, I just wanna, before we begin, I just wanna say again, as Megan mentioned, on behalf of the city council, we wanna thank you for your engagement in applying for the vacant city council seat. We know that sometimes it's not easy. Everybody's extremely busy, but I thank you for your willingness to be a partner in moving the city forward. We're at a time with the city of Soledad is there's a lot of changes. There's a lot to be able to look forward. Our city now is in the next phase of what we can envision to be. So I think having more voices and having more participation is really critical for the future of all of our residents in the city. So we acknowledge that this takes time, this takes dedication, and it takes a lot of courage also, right? To put yourself out there. And, you know, some people will agree or not agree with your point of view. And as council members, we have to be open to that. So I just want to say again, on behalf of the city council, thank you so much for your willingness to step forward and to serve. Public service, I found, has been something that is really, really important and sometimes not acknowledged as we should. So again, thank you. And I also want, my last point is I just want to let you know also as the candidates that this council was really thoughtful in the process that we're going to undertake today. We wanted to make sure that this was a fair and most importantly, that this was a transparent process where people felt that people feel that everybody's going to be given a fair opportunity to this process. So we looked at different cities, how they performed their appointment process, and we took pieces of different cities and what we thought would be great for our process. So that way each candidate felt that it was fair and transparent. So I just want to thank the council for entertaining and that thoughtful discussion of what we got today for the process. And then I also want to thank our city staff for making sure that we had clear outline articulation of how the process was gonna happen today. So everybody felt clear and comfortable about what was going to happen. So just really quickly, you will have, as Megan said, 5 minutes to make an opening statement. Thereafter, each council member will ask one question. So you'll have a total of 4 questions. You will have 2.5 minutes. So we want to make sure we direct you to the clock for a total of 15 minutes per candidates. And we want to make sure everybody has that full time. And as Megan said, your last question will also serve as your closing statement if you would like that. So again, we want this to be fair and equitable. And in order to do that, I'm going to make sure as a chair of this body that I enforce the timing restrictions if anybody goes beyond. So with that, then I will ask now all the rest of the candidates if we can step out, and we will begin with Mrs. Evarista Bañuelos.
And Mayor, if you can give us a couple of minutes to lead out the
Yes.
candidates, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ready?
we can.
Okay, so with that, then.
Okay.
Wait, did she confirm? Are we good?
She's controlling the timer, that's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay, so we'll wait for Darlene to come back because she does,
This timer?
Yes.
she has control of the timer, and since today is really gonna be about adherence to the timing regulations, we wanna make sure. Good, thank you, Darlene.
Sorry, they're kind of sloppy.
Perfect, thank you. So we will have 1 minute, so our city manager will have the 1 minute visual and then also the 30-second visual. So that way the candidates know when the time is almost up so you can wrap up the talking points. So, okay, so with that, then we will begin our process and I will ask Mrs. Evarista Bañuelos to please join us at the podium. Okay, and once the timer is set. Okay, so we have 5 minutes to make you have 5 minutes to make an opening statement.
Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, council. Good evening, everyone here in the council chambers and everyone that is
plugged into Zoom and YouTube. Just wanted to say thank you again for this opportunity. We just share who I am. My name is Evadista Bañuelos. Everyone knows me as Eva Bañuelos and the voice of Soledad. The reason why is because I've been here in Soledad for over my childhood and since my birth. I actually was born in King City, Memorial Hospital, and I also have seven siblings, and I'm second to the youngest. So my journey here in Soledad as my upbringing is being involved, you know, and also having these instrument people in my life, instrument people in my upbringing, which are my parents. My parents are very hard workers. My mom, you know, of course, stayed home, took care of us, but it's my dad. My dad was very strict with us and, you know, ingrained us in being hard workers and helping others and serving others. He did work in the King City Basic Foods. And from what I learned from my dad is to serve others and help others. And that's where I get that from. And also my mom. My mom was a homemaker, took care of everyone. And also, you know, our neighborhoods, our neighbors, and she would actually help. And of course, got involved in church, in the Catholic Church, and that's where I began. I also am involved very much in my community as my upbringing, being involved in sports, getting just quote unquote my hands dirty and everything, because I want to get to know my neighbors, get to know my community. And the reason for my possible appointment is to be more effective. And I'm doing that now and being a volunteer community leader. And I enjoy what I do because I want to be effective, you know, and I've been doing that now. And also just share my own experiences because I am a resident here and I like to also just advocate for others and be a voice for others as well. I have also the experience of just being humble. You know, I'm a woman of God. I'm involved in my church. I love my church because my church says, you know, love others, and that's what we do. And also, that's my community. In retrospect, I want to just be involved, and I have been involved, and just bring that joy that I share. And I'm very approachable, and I'll actually just stamp my name on anything that comes to me, and I am a go-getter. I'm a go-getter. If something arises in any type of conflict, I want to be transparent in regards to any, you know, communities that I'm involved in, listen to, you know, any ideas, any thoughts. And also, again, I want to stress transparent because this is our community, and, you know, of course, we may have some disagreements, but it's okay. In reality, down to the nitty-gritty, we are part of the city, and it's more for the residents, not us. Again, I believe that Eva would be a great candidate for the seat and also bring a different perspective in everything. And, you know, and just know that I'm able to be contacted, and not only that, to just advocate for, you know, our neighbors. And most of all, I actually live in the old side of Soledad, so I just want to just throw it out there. So again, I live at 289 4th Street, Soledad, and that's by Rios Market, if everyone knows, and 4th Street Market. So again, thank you again for your time, and I'm ready.
Thank you. Thank you. And now we will move on to our questions. So again, as stated, we do have 4 questions. You will have 2.5 minutes to answer the question. So we do have the timer again, and Megan will make sure that we give you notice as well. So I will begin with the first question, and then I will take it out to Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez, Councilmember Cabrera, and then our Mayor Pro Tem, Corralejo.
Okay.
So my first question, the first question is, what skills, experiences, perspectives, and relationships would you bring to this position that could support and advance the city of Soledad?
Okay, so let me break this down. So I'm going to break it down as my work experience. I'm gonna break this down to my community volunteer experience. And also my city matters experience. So let me start off with my community volunteer experience. I currently do a lot of work in my community, but let me focus on what I'm doing now currently, what I've done right now also in the past year. So first of all, the 4th of July, and being involved in the 4th of July committee, bringing this event to the community and, and just advocating and bringing all those resources that I'm familiar with and with the committee is familiar with. Also, the Salinas Valley Veterans Parade. Now, this is my second year being involved in the Veterans Parade, and it is the home Monterey County. And this parade is held in Salinas, so we meet every month. And also the food drives, starting during the pandemics with the organization Celebration Nation. This is just a joy for me to be involved because, there's always a need. It doesn't matter, your status, there's always a need. I was in need and they were available for my family. And also community support through volunteer. My church is actually very involved with my community. And also we like to help and be aware of our resources. I like to be aware of my resources and the resources that I know. I like to reach out to the resources and implement, and they're able to help out and support. Christmas parade, and then also I continue to foster and establish relationships with also local agencies. City matters. Sorry, Megan. So I'm right now currently involved in the GPAC committee, and I hold a seat in this committee. The housing element draft that's right now in current, and we're looking at it right now. City issues. I've been involved in some city issues for a while, and I'm pretty much well-rounded. What's going on, upcoming big issues, of course, the general plan, the housing element,
Okay,
and
it's
the
time.
city budget.
I'm sorry, I didn't look at the at the green button. So when it's green button, that means, yeah, thank you so much. Okay, I'll make sure that I look at the green button because I was writing. Okay, thank you. I will now turn it over to Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
Alrighty, so although this appointment is for a short period of time, what are your top 3 priorities for the city of Soledad? And what do you plan to do as a council member to achieve them while in office?
Well, the first one right now is currently the housing element, making sure it meets the needs of our current budget, and also new and future residents, because we have residents moving here, and we want to make sure that we offer that for more housing elements. Here, the city budget, making sure that we be responsible and we continue to be informed with any decision making that we need to do. And then also moving forward with the city. And I can't only just have 3 priorities. I have so many, but that, the homelessness, I know that we had passed a budget, and then a funding. We need to make a good use of this grant that we received for homelessness, because, I know people and my family members were homelessness. So I learned the experience from that impact with my siblings. And also, be supportive with not just, you as a council, but, the city staff. The city staff makes so much, and I applaud what they do, and just kind of continue to build those relationships.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Cabrera.
Yes. Council, has to deal with controversial issues from time to time. Would you go against the will of your constituents if you held a different position in that issue? Why and why not? Or why not?
Well, sometimes we're not gonna see eye to eye, and that's okay. And you know what, it's not all, it's just having constructive criticism, but then also listening to our constituents, listening to what their perspective is. And of course, you know, being challenged with, you know, what our voice is, but it's also we might not agree on a lot of, you know, on some issues, but that's okay. You know, it's just more being very constructive and what's best for our community. And you know, it's part of growth as well. Because again, me as a person will not take things, you know, in a personal gain, because it's not me, it's more for the community. And also, what I want to share is that disagreement, it's for the betterment for the city.
Mayor Pro Tem Corralejo?
Yes, hi. So my question is, why should the council appoint you for the council seat over the other candidates?
Why do I believe I am the best candidate? Well, because I'm a resident. I'm a resident in Soledad, and I've lived here and I've known these experiences, especially where I live. There's a lot of development that needs to happen, and I can be that advocate. I can be that voice. And also, and I know I'm already doing the community engagement. You know, I talk to the community. I love getting feedback from them, because it's about them. It's about our community. It's about our residents. And you know, I'm very approachable, and I want just to continue being involved. And of course, as you can see on my application, you know, that is my resume, but my resume is pretty much my community engagement, my involvement here for the city of Soledad. And it's just a joy just to have a difference and make a difference, and being supportive with all the agencies, any local residents that need a service. I know how to reach my resources or find out where I can streamline. So make that good choice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So if I can have you, take a seat in the front row here. Thank you so much. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. And now we will, call Carol Cordova Anderson. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Hello. Hi, Carol. Welcome, and thank you again. So we do have 4 questions for you today, and you will have 2.5 minutes to answer those questions. We do have the timer, but we're modifying it. But what Megan, our city manager, is gonna do is she'll let you know when you're at 1 minute, at the 1 minute mark. She'll have her 1 minute mark. And then when you're at 30 minutes, she will assign 30 seconds, sorry, 30 seconds. And then that means just to, if you can just wrap up, and then, again, as I stated, is we're trying to afford everybody the same amount of time. Okay, so I will begin with the first question.
Mayor, sorry to interrupt. They have a opening statement up to 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry, that's true. So you have an opening statement. Sorry about that. And you have 5 minutes. And then I missed that part because I went into the 4 questions, so let me take it back to you. Apologize for that, Carol, and you have 5 minutes to make your opening statement.
And before you begin, I'm gonna ask Darlene to set the timer for 5 minutes. Okay, great, thank you.
I won't take the hint, but. Hi, my name is Carol Cordova Anderson. I'm a longtime resident of Soledad. I was born in Salinas and raised here in Soledad, so I went through all the schools, San Vicente, Gavilan, Main Street. Then I went off to get my BA at California State University, Monterey Bay. And I have 2 kids. I still reside here in Soledad. And I currently work at the Housing Authority. I'm a family self-sufficient coordinator there. And just wanted to give back to my community.
Thank you. Okay, so now we will begin with the questions, and we have 4 questions, and I'll start with our first question, and then I will take it over to the council members to ask. My question is, what skills, experiences, perspectives, and relationships would you bring to this position that could support and advance the city of Soledad?
Like I said, being from Soledad, growing up here, going off to college, being at CSUMB, and just having that integrated into my education, that service learning, giving back to our community is one of the assets that I think I bring to the table. Also, working with the Housing Authority has really given me an opportunity to work with our communities and their crisis of housing, so I think I bring back. And relationships to people that I've made friends with, connections with different agencies. I think that's it.
Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
Yes, although this appointment is for a short period of time, what are your top 3 priorities for the city of Soledad? And what do you plan to do as a council member to achieve them while in office?
The 3 things I'd like to really focus, and of course, there's always an agenda that's already set, but I think one of the things that we do need to focus is on housing. It is a big crisis. And just hopefully bringing my experience, like I said, working with the Housing Authority, and collaborating with different agencies, maybe bringing some more education towards our youth. And bringing different agencies, maybe hopefully here that would help us with different things that we need as a community. Currently, we do outreach, and I realize that we don't have a lot of outreach down here in South County, so maybe bringing that here would help as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Cabrera.
Carol, council has to deal with controversial issues from time to time. Would you, in one of these situations, would you go against the will of your constituents if you held a different position in that issue? Why or why not?
Okay, so my answer to that would be, I would look at everything. Sometimes when you look at all the information, not just because the constituents want you to, want a certain thing done. Sometimes when you have everything in front of you, you tend to look at it on the long run of how it's gonna help everybody, not just one select group. So if I had to, I would go against it, because I'm looking at the greater good for everybody, not just one select group.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Corralejo.
Yes, hi Carol. Why should the council appoint you for the council seat over the other candidates?
You guys have a lot of great volunteers here. I really, we were just talking in the back and I was like, wow, we all bring a lot of things to the table. And if you don't get degree, that's great. I mean, that would be not great. It's whatever benefits the council, you know? I'm just here volunteering and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's okay. I can be an asset somewhere else within our community.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much, Carol. So that concludes our questions. So if you'd like to take a seat here in the front row, at either side, wherever you want to sit, but if you want to sit in the front row, that would be great. Okay, so we are going to pause for a little bit, give us a few minutes. Okay. And so we'll just wait for a few minutes so we can have the candidate and we can have a council member consulted. To Eugene Edward Ivy II. We will pause for a few minutes. If you can, thank you for your patience. We just a few more minutes and then we'll allow our council member to come back to the dais. Okay. Thank you so much. So now we're ready. And Mr. Eugene Edward Ivy II, before we begin, I also just want to, now that we are approaching Memorial Day, but every day I just want to say thank you for service to our country. But with that, I want to make sure that you will have 5 minutes to make an opening statement. You can take all the 5 minutes if you want or less. And thereafter, each of the council members is going to ask you one question. You will have 2.5 minutes. Megan will be putting up the 1 minute timer when your minute is up and then the 30 seconds. So that way it gives you an opportunity to, I know sometimes it's a little nerve wracking when you're up here. So we'll try to do as much as we can to make you all feel comfortable. Okay, so with that, then your last question will can serve also as your closing statement if you wish for that. So I will begin with the first question. What skills, experiences? Oh, am I out of order? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm always okay. So I'm gonna get this right before the third candidate. So I apologize for that. I will give you 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Well, I'd like to say good evening to the residents of Soledad, Mayor Velasquez, and the city council members. It's an honor and a privilege to be here this evening. My name is Eugene Ivy. I'm a 53-year-old and I'm a native of Los Angeles, California. I grew up in Los Angeles in a single family home with no siblings. And growing up in LA, it was not easy, but I was determined to make it as a kid. I always wanted to follow in my father's footsteps and join the Army. So upon finishing high school in 1989, I enlisted in the United States Army and was stationed in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for basic training and advanced initial training. I was stationed overseas following that training for a few years and returned back to the United States, where I finished my active duty service at Fort Knox, Kentucky in 1994. I was honored to be student discharged and moved back to Los Angeles upon discharge, where I found a full-time job working at a security company and also working for the Federal Express as a part-time employee loading aircraft containers. It was very hard, but I got through it. So in 1994, I decided to enroll in Los Angeles Southwest College, where I studied business management. In 1996, I enrolled in Los Angeles Associated Technical College, where I studied medical assistant, cardiac technician, where I received a diploma in 1997. In the year 2000, I decided I needed a career with a good paying job and benefits. So I applied for the California Department of Corrections and was hired in July of 2001. I was assigned to CTF, the Correctional Training Facility in Soledad, and upon being accepted to CTF, I moved to Salinas from Los Angeles. I worked as a correctional officer at CTF until April of 2006. And in April of 2006, I promoted to sergeant and became a first-line supervisor. In 2016, I transferred to Simi Valley State Prison, where I promoted to lieutenant. And in the same year, I decided to purchase a home here in Soledad. I've been a resident for 8 years now, and I'm loving it. Very good community. The people are very friendly, cordial. I couldn't find a better hometown place to live in. In 2022, I unfortunately had some health issues. So I decided to retire from the Department of Corrections. At that time, I had 21 years in. I didn't want to retire, but due to health issues, I had no choice. Currently, in this moment, I'm a business owner, devout Christian. I'm a proud husband, father, and grandfather. My wife is also a retired correctional officer and local business owner as well. I've been a member of the American Legion for 11 years and joined Post 32 recently here in Soledad. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, thank you. So now we will go into the questions, and now you will have each question 2.5 minutes to answer. So I will now begin with my question. So what skills, experiences, perspectives, and relationships would you bring to the position that could support and advance the city of Soledad?
I feel with my experience in the Department of Corrections, it gave me effective communication skills. I developed better listening skills. I had to handle a lot of emergency situations, and it gave me an opportunity to learn how to deal with different types of situations, right? As far as hostile and volatility situations. Therefore, my perspective and having an open mind on things that are going on is a lot different than most people. I'm highly aware and always taking the time to listen to people before I speak. I think it's very important that effective communication is the key to success. Working with the public, they're entrusting us as citizens to be their eyes, ears, and their voice for the community. And that's what I would like to do here on the city council, represent the people.
Thank you, thank you. Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez?
Yes, hi. Although this appointment is for a short period of time, what are your top 3 priorities for the city of Soledad? And what do you plan to do as a council member to achieve them while in office?
Because it's a short time, it's only 7 months, I'm aware of that. I'm already looking ahead for the future of being possibly elected for a permanent seat here in Soledad. So I'm considering running, whether I'm elected or not today. I think it's very important that I learn as much as I can by working with the city council and mayor and learning the policy procedures that go along with, running the city, as well as, learning what I don't have with the budget. I was looking for the budget so I can go over the budget and try to find out the fiscal spending here in Soledad. For some reason, I was unable to get it on the website. But that's one of the things I've been working on, as well as, furthering my presence in the community, because no one really knows me. It's probably the first time a lot of people have met me here on Zoom this meeting and public as well. So I would have to go out and, make a better effort for people to know me and understand that I'm transparent and talk to me at any time. I'm about diversity. I have no problems communicating with anybody. Doesn't matter who they are. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Cabrera?
Yes, hi, Commissioner. Council has to deal with controversial issues from time to time. Would you go against the will of your constituents if you held a different position in that issue? Why or why not?
I respect everyone's opinion. And I have my own opinion, but I can work with people with their opinion. I have an open mind. So having a issue amongst the council or the public, I'm able to work through that. I'll be able to effectively communicate and ensure that a solution is found. I don't believe in problems. I believe in finding a solution. When people bring problems, we need to work on that issue and come up with a solution. And I believe that's one of the biggest issues with what's going on today. The public needs to be able to trust us as their eyes and ears to be able to get that done.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Corralejo?
Yes, why should the council appoint you for the council seat over the other candidates?
I feel that my experience with being a supervisor in a leadership role and being in positions where I had to make last minute decisions and decisions on the spot puts me in gives me the upper hand as far as being able to be a leader. I have no problem following instructions or giving instructions. A lot of people may have a hard time, following instructions. Also, I believe in accountability. So if I make a mistake, I can own it to my mistake. I won't push it on someone else. I don't believe in passing the buck when it comes to making mistakes. I take accountability for my actions. I believe in ethical behavior, leadership. And I also believe in being transparent. I believe in diversity. I believe in respecting people's rights.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that concludes the questions that we have for you today. So if you'd like to take a seat in the front row, and then we will, we have one more candidate, and then we'll come back to the council. We'll go out to public comment and then come back to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so now we will have our next candidate and our final candidate, Joseph Ruiz. Welcome, Mr. Ruiz. How are you? Good. So thank you. So what, I'm just going to reiterate a couple of points, and I'm going to get it right this time. But you'll have 5 minutes to do an opening statement. And then each council member does have a question that is going to be asked. So we have a total of 4 questions. You will have 2.5 minutes to answer the questions. And we will have the timer, but we also have our city manager who's gonna be assisting you and us to make sure that we keep everybody on time for fairness and transparent reasons. So when it's a minute, she'll hold up the 1 minute sign, and then when you have 30 seconds left, she will hold up the 30-second sign. Okay. So with that, I will turn it over to you. You have 5 minutes to provide an opening statement.
Thank you for the time. Thank you, council. Thank you, everybody. I am here as a citizen of Soledad. Grew up here, 29 years, living here. In Monterey County, 31. Outside of County 2, when I moved to Fresno. But I'm back and I've been here since. I really love the ambience of Soledad. My family moved here back in 82. Some of the things that I do today are social work. I'm a district social worker for Santa Rita Union School District in Salinas. I work with 6 different schools, 2 new schools for elementary. And with that, I carry with myself in any place that I go, the 6 core values of social work. Some of them are integrity, service to others, dignity and worth of a person. And along with those are some of the principles. Along with that, I've made it intentional for some of the experiences that I've had within social service and mental health. Keep in mind some of the aspects that perspectives that I gained when I was doing my undergraduate in San Jose State, which was in political science. That entailed urban planning, housing, social services, for the public. If I ever took some kind of action to be in like public office or public servant. So I bring different perspectives. My experience is very limited in scope per se, but I have worked in a large range of different capacities. Childcare, my mom had a childcare for about 16 years in Soledad, so I volunteered with the raising of a few kiddos that I now see as adults, tutor, student, field worker, and also helping my uncle with his landscaping business in Soledad, and I gained a scholarship for that from the Soledad City of Commerce and Soledad Commerce. It was pretty cool. And I'm married to my beautiful wife, and we have 2 dogs right now. So she's bought a house about 1.5 years ago, and so we're here setting roots, you know, for the long run. So happy to see and hear that Soledad's expanding, going on to the next stage. So I'd like to be involved some way, shape, or form, whether it's in this capacity as a, you know, city council member or in another committee, Measure S, whatever it may be. Yeah, and that's kind of a little bit about myself. I don't know if I need another 2 minutes.
Thank you so much for that. So we will move on now to the question part of the interview process, and I have the first question. And again, you will have 2.5 minutes to answer if you wish to take that. What skills, experiences, perspectives, and relationships would you bring to this position that could support and advance the city of Soledad?
So perspectives, I think, growing up, I really didn't want to be in Soledad. I'm like, this has nothing, but getting out of Soledad really helped me appreciate Soledad and what it is becoming and everything that it has right now and the potential as to grow into a bigger community. Both my family and my wife's family are here, so we're very, 100% Soledadian. I'm not as involved yet in other committees like Soledad, what used to be like Soledad Fiesta Days or now Summer Days. They're exciting, but it's really exciting to know that we can just be involved. So that's the kind of perspective I would bring, one from a citizen, resident of a long time, experiences. I mean, I've lived outside of Soledad for, I think, long enough to know what different city governments can look like. and in my undergraduate degree, I can say that some of those, like governmental perspectives and, theories that kind of like underlie the applied, knowledge when working within government, can look like, skills. I feel that I'm very, flexible, very adaptable to any kind of environment, and I think that speaks a lot to the position that I'm currently in. So working for 6 schools is very, unique from my previous positions, just because the administration is, unique to each school site. Students from each school are, have different needs. Sometimes there's crisis interventions that you have to tend to. And then other schools, you just kind of like maintain the school climate. So school climate and the climate of a community is very important.
Thank you. So now I'll turn it over to Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
All right. Although this appointment is for a short period of time, what are your top 3 priorities for the city of Soledad? And what do you plan to do as a council member to achieve them while in office?
Cool. So in 3 words, housing, business, and community climate. I think those are some top priorities that I could think of off the top of my head. As I mentioned earlier, when I was in high school, I won a scholarship for Soledad Chamber of Commerce. And it helped me in my endeavors going into college. So I think that involving youth in those kind of like settings and giving opportunities to Soledad citizens, residents to like build a business it makes a big difference in not just the upbringing of youth, but also the well-being of parents, families. It's kind of core to our community. And with regards to housing, having grown up 14 years in the Chispa apartments across from Desigolaro Park, I know what low-income housing can do for a family with getting them from one place to another. We went from Chispa low-income housing to a Section 8 voucher, which allows us to find a more stable, more fit house condition for my mom and 3 sisters. So I know that housing is a super big important priority, and coming from lived experience in that area. And then community climate, if there's no efforts to build a positive climate, any kind of resources that are given or built kind of become hollow or kind of in vain. So it's cool. I mean, community climate is important, business and housing. That's what I think.
Thank you. So we'll move on to Councilmember Cabrera.
Yes, Joseph, how you doing? Council has to deal with controversial issues from time to time. Would you go against the will of your constituents if you held a different position? Why or why not?
So I would assess the costs and benefits of the issue with the will of the constituents first in mind. And why? Because I feel that the city council is a platform for residents of the city, but at the same time, in the broader macro perspective, it could be something very beneficial to the development of the city, right? And therefore, good climate, healthy environment for business building and building community. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Corralejo.
Yes, hi Joseph. It's funny, we actually share the same last name. Reese is my maiden name, no relation. Like to see another Reese, it's rare in Soledad. So my question is, why should the council appoint you for the council seat over other candidates?
To answer that and not answer that, I love the energy of all the candidates that stepped up today. I had just from the public comment that was made earlier, I know that there's a lot of involvement from the other candidates already. and my conversations in the back room, just about who they are as people. I will leave it up to the council to elect the best candidate for the needs of the community right now, because it's a public forum for the city. So that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Joseph. So that concludes the questions that we have for today. And thank you again for your willingness to apply. So if we can have you sit in the front, that would be great. So just the reason why the front, because we do have the public is able to see you. So we want to make sure the public has a face to the individuals that applied today. So thank you so much. Okay, so with that, then at this point, we've concluded the interview process for the 4 candidates that we have for tonight. For this is, as our city manager said, this is the position of our current at-large seat. We're currently still at large as a council seat. And so at this time, then I will open it up now for public comments before we move on to our second portion of the process. So I will start with those that are joining us here in our chambers, and then I will take it out for those that are joining us via Zoom. And so just as a reminder, you will have 3 minutes to speak. And if you're here in our chambers, if you can please come up to the podium, that way we can hear you, and also those that are joining us and in YouTube or out in Zoom are able to see you and hear the question as well. So do any members of the public, do we have any public comments at this time? We can step up to the podium. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good evening, City Council and Honorable Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I apologize for my attire, but I was working out in the garden. And when I found out that there was a special meeting, I knew I wanted to be here. And my name is Cindy Avellino. I have lived in Soledad for about 46 years now. My husband's family has lived here since the mid-1930s. So as you can tell, we've been planted here. And I have had the honor of watching Soledad grow from a very, very small town. We lived on Palm Avenue, and we've watched the city grow as far as business, as far as the council, and we're very grateful for the service that you have provided for all of us. And the reason why I'm here tonight is because of Ms. Banuelos. Okay, I have known Ms. Banuelos for over 20 years, and I've been able to watch her as a single parent, watch her grow into her career, watch her grow in her church, and watch her grow outstandingly in this community. And when you talk about community-minded people, I see Ms. Banuelos. I don't have the privilege of knowing these other fine candidates, but I do know Ms. Banuelos. And I have seen her grow in her church as the first on scene in volunteers. I've seen her in this community participate in so many different events, too many to number. And not only that, being involved as far as the face, as far as many of the events, but also seeing her help her community through resources and to be able to listen to people, to actively listen to people. And so I've watched her for a long time, and I've seen her raise her children and her children participating with my grandchildren. And can you believe it? She's a grandmother herself now. It's unbelievable to be able to see this growth. And so I see her participating and being on this council because she loves her community. She loves the people, the residents here in town. And she's involved in so many things willingly. So I'm very grateful to be able to say, I support Ms. Banuelos, and I hope the decision will be favorable towards her. Nothing against any of the other candidates who I've been able to hear this evening, because they all sound like wonderful candidates. But when you've been a fixture of this community for such a long time. You watch the coming and going of the city council and the mayors.
Thank you, Sid. Yeah, thank you. So gotta watch for that timer. Thank you so much for those comments. So do we have any other members of our public? So. Welcome, Marta.
Yo voy a hablar en español. Buenas tardes, alcalde, miembros del concilio y personas que nos acompañan esta tarde. Mi admiración y respeto para ustedes que hacen este trabajo sirviendo a la comunidad pensando en ella. Mi nombre es Marta Zárate y soy miembro de la comunidad por más de 18 años. Quiero expresar mi apoyo a las personas que esta tarde se han unido para ser considerados parte del concilio de la ciudad. Porque lo he visto, este es un trabajo muy difícil de lidiar. Deben considerar que la persona que debe ocupar ese espacio sea una persona que conozca la comunidad, que entienda las necesidades de los residentes, para que de esta forma tenga ese amor y pasión de hacer cambios para mejorar la comunidad. Creo que la señora Eva es una excelente candidata porque las acciones hablan de nosotros y las acciones de Eva han hablado por ella. Gracias por su atención.
Thank you, and we will have that translated.
Good afternoon, council. Good afternoon, mayor, council members, and community in attendance. My admiration and respect for all the work that you do driven to improve our community. My name is Marta Zarate, and I have been a member of this community for more than 18 years. I want to express my support for the people who have come together this afternoon to be considered for the city council appointment. I've seen that the job that you have is a difficult job to hold. Council should consider that the person who gets appointed is a person who knows the community and understands the needs of our residents, given that that is needed to have the love and passion to make the changes needed to improve our community. I think Ms. Eva is an excellent candidate because our actions speak louder than our words. And what she has done in Soledad has been actions.
Thank you. Okay, so any additional members of the public that are joining us here in our chambers like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. And I do see we do have a hand that's raised, but hold on, let me make sure I see it. Okay. Miss Ruby Wood, if you can unmute yourself, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Ruby Wood, and I'm calling in response and respect to Eva Banuelos. And I think that she should be considered for this position because Eva loves people. She loves to serve people. She cares about the community, and she shows this in her efforts and her hard work. And I think that because of her commitment and her hard work, that she should be considered for this position.
Okay, thank you, Ruby, for your comments. I do see Linda Farmer, if you can please unmute yourself.
Good evening, council. Good evening, mayor. It's been a while since I've seen you. This is Linda Farmer. I used to belong to Soledad years ago. And I just want to say I recommend Eva Banuelos for the position. She is so faithful for everything that she does. She even helped us out when we did the Salvation Army. She was there, Johnny on the spot, and she's always been wanting to be able to do anything for the community. And believe me, she will pull you in if she can. That's how great she is with people. And y'all have a blessed evening.
Thank you, Ms. Farmer. So I do see another hand that's raised. So Mrs. Jen Gray. Jen, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. This has been a pleasure to listen to all the candidates tonight. And I think this is really, really wonderful, excellent steps in the right direction. I am here tonight to give my recommendation for Eva Banuelos. Eva is, in my opinion, is a fantastic balance of leadership and servanthood. She has spent decades in the trenches with many others, making sure that our small town does big things. She not only has a heart for the community, but she also knows the community. She understands the people that she serves. And I think that her passion and commitment to the community will add so much to our council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen, for your comments. And I don't see any other hands that are raised. Okay, so see no additional hands raised. I will close the public comment period. And at this time, then we'll move on to our council. We'll move on now then to our council deliberation. So this is a portion where we can make our comments, deliberate, and we are not taking action yet. We want to make sure that we hear from each of the council members first, and then we will come back for action if that's the choosing of the council for tonight. So I will take, I know that we had an order, and I'll continue with that order during the deliberation process, with the exception that I'll move myself into the end. I know as a mayor, I usually have, I'm at the end of that process. So I do want to make sure that the council members have their opportunity to deliberate and make comments, and then I'll make my comments at the end if the council is okay with that change of order. Okay. So I will then move to then Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
Why I gotta go first? Okay. Not expect that. Usually I'm in the middle, so I'm in the middle, so give me a second. So at first I wanted to thank each and every candidate for coming here. I think it's amazing to see that we have folks that are interested in civic engagement and serving our community. I also hope whatever the outcome is, that you all continue to be engaged in our wonderful community. We live in a really great town. I've lived here all of my life. I went off to college, came back. I do want to say that I was in your position 2 years ago, where I also interviewed. Unfortunately, I didn't get the position, which is fine because I mean I'm sitting here now. But it's something that I want to say to you all, because I didn't get discouraged. I was like, it wasn't the time, and that's okay. And I became engaged in my community. I also was appointed by, I think you, right, to both of the things that I served on the district advisory committee as vice chair. I was elected vice chair, and then also to the GPAC, which I also was elected vice chair. So I think that's just something that I want to share to each and every one of you, the candidates here, so that you can see that just because it might not work out today, there's still opportunities. We will have 2 elections this November for our District 3 and District 4 elections. So I don't know where you all live. Obviously, they redact that from the application, but hopefully you are able to run then, or if not, in 2026. And then I kind of wanted to just briefly go over everyone's comments and say thank you. So I'll start with Eva, since you went first. Thank you so much for coming. I really like that you had thoughtful answers to what we asked, and you told us a little bit about yourself. And I also am glad that you're so involved in the community and you bring all these events for our community. And then for Carol, I wanted to commend you as well. When you said service learning, that was something that I got excited about, because it's something that I try to live and do on my own as well, even before being on council, just volunteering when I was a student, undergraduate student, graduate student, and stuff like that. Right now I work at a university and I try to volunteer for as many things as I can as well at my job. So thank you for bringing that up. And then for Eugene, I just wanted to say first, thank you for your service. Absolutely. I really enjoyed what you have to say, especially in the sense of bringing diversity into our town. I think that's something that's very important. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that I try to bring forth in all of the work that I do. So I wanted to commend you in bringing that up, and also your experiences in leadership. I think that's something that's very great. And then finally, for Joseph, I work at San Jose State University, so there you go on that. It was really nice to hear what you had to say as well, and I commend you in the work that you're doing at Santa Rita Unified School District. So thank you again, to all of you for coming and for sharing. As for myself, I think that you all make great candidates, and I think that either Eva or Eugene would be my picks right now. And with that being said, I'll move it to the next person.
Okay, Councilmember Cabrera.
Thank you, Mayor Velasquez, and wow, sometimes I wanna be late, right? Thank you so much. I wanna thank, first all the candidates and commend you for your desire to be part of our, city government. It's, every time that I hear somebody, bragging about that city that they live, I always think that the people is the one that makes that city. And I wanna thank you, all of you guys, because you guys make that city. You know, and those who make comments online, thank you so much for expressing your opinions as well as those here. And I wanna say something about Senora Avellino. You mentioned that you lived in Palma. When I came to California, I lived on 8th Street. And I fully understand when you're saying that you saw Soledad growing up from something very little into what it is today and what it will become when the annexation is completed. So we are looking at the, having almost growing almost 50% more. So that's gonna be a beautiful, even more beautiful city. And we need people that not only are willing to put time in the government, but also put in time in all the committees that we have. Those committees need participation and we encourage you to participate. Those of you who are not gonna be selected, because we just have to select one person, please stay. Because our community needs more people like you. And when you come to on board, either as a council member or as a volunteer for one of our communities, that establishes connections with people. That gets you with other people and you will see the needs more in real life, in real time. So thank you for participating. I don't know if I have all the details that Fernando has. I have a lot, but I wanna say, for me, it's a little bit more into understanding the community that you're gonna serve, being connected with that community, and being transparent, and also the dedication that you have for that community. Yes, when it comes to my question, yes, you will find situations in which you have a lot of the information that public don't have, and you're gonna see that you're gonna have to, that community is gonna challenge you to do what they want you to do. And at that point, we have to be able to come together with the public and see which one is the best solution for that community. Because I taught for a long time, and when you teach with the student in mind, they call it student-centered. I call this resident-centered, because we are here to provide for our community. So thank you so much for everything that you guys brought into the table. I see a lot of potential for you guys. I highly encourage you to stay with us, not meaning just with the government, but with the committees. It is really important. Sometimes we don't have people to recommend, and you will be very, very important for us. With that, I concur with Councilmember Ansaldo that for me the top candidates is Eva and Eugene for now.
Thank you, Councilmember Cabrera. I'll turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Corralejo.
Yes, first of all, I want to thank again everyone for being here, all the candidates and also all the supporters. Thank you for that input. I do want to say, when I thank you guys for applying for this appointment, I don't say it lightly. I went through an appointment process myself. I also, went through an election, so I know that it's sometimes difficult to put yourself out there, put your family out there. It's a little nerve-wracking. You want it, but then it's kind of scary. If you get it, a lot of things are going to change, right, in your schedule, your time, your availability for your family and friends. So that's just definitely a selfless act that you're doing for your community. So thank you. I did want to talk a little bit on each candidate, and I'll make it brief. I'll start with Eva. Eva, I think, you know, I've known you for years, and I think what always stands out to me about you is your passion. You have a big heart, and I remember in high school when we had the whole walkout. Yes, I see your face. I know you remember, and I remember you being out there on top of the locker rooms with the megaphone, right? And that was a hard time, I think, for all of us seeing chaos in our school, right? So that's definitely something that to me stands out when it comes to you for years now. The next person that we have on here, Carol. Carol, you know, I think what I liked about you is, you know, some of what you bring, I think, is important to our city. Affordable housing and just housing in general is such a big issue for us here in Soledad, in our county, in our state, and in, you know, everywhere. And so I do like your job at the Housing Authority. I feel like that gives you some insight, you know, to different resources and things going on with housing. I also like your art minor that you have. I know we're actually gonna be incorporating some art into our Front Street. Hopefully that will go over to the rest of our city. And art is just such a beautiful way of expression, right? So I would love to see, you know, what you would bring with that art minor to our community. And then the next person, Eugene, thank you for being here as well. And I believe mentioned yourself, like a lot of you might not know me. I think with kind of how you introduced yourself, and you're right, I don't know you. And I'm sorry that I didn't know you before. You know, you definitely have a calm and collected, unauthoritative demeanor about you. That I think, you know, would be great, yet you seem very approachable. And that definitely is something that I like also with, you know, not just with Memorial Day around the corner, but just in general. Thank you for your service. I know that takes a lot of discipline, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of love for your country. So I'm sure you have a lot of love for your city as well. Something else that also stood out to me was the fact that you're not, you know, Soledad grown. I guess, you know, you were in LA, you said, then you moved to Salinas, then you moved here. So I think that does bring a different perspective. You know, maybe you learn something from different governments, how to do things in LA. You know, and I think that you have a lot to contribute. And then to Joseph, I honestly loved your honesty. Just when you said, you know, I wanted to get out of here, it reminded me of myself. I went to San Diego State, and I remember thinking the same thing. I just want to get out of here. And then, you know, and then when it came to raising a family, raising children, it's like, oh no, I want a little town. It's home-like, it feels safe. I know everyone. I know the lunch lady. Once my kids went to school, about, you know, the teacher I went to school with her, Mrs. Lee, which actually I believe is a relative of Ansaldo Sanchez, a council member. But yeah, it's just a very good, you know, feeling of feeling safe, feeling that it's home. I honestly, and this is perhaps a cliche, but this is really a hard decision, I think, for all of us up here. And I think, to me, like, I wanna say all four, but, I know, Carol, again, I think just the housing, with the housing issues, that we're going, I think that that would be a huge benefit for our community and for our council. And also the art minor, I think art has a way of healing, and there's so much going on around the world where we just need healing and a way to be able to express ourselves in a safe and sane manner. And also, Eugene, I think that those are my two choices right now, Carol and Eugene.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Corralejo. So, mine are my final comments before we go into any of our appointment processes. But I also want to echo the same sentiment, and I want to say thank you. Thank you to each of you for coming up here, for making that dedication, that commitment to public service. It's not easy. Many of us that are here understand what that entails and what it takes. And to really be a public servant, you know, we have to be open to criticism, open to dialogue with our community, and being able to look at different perspectives, right? And also, I know for me, it's taken a lot of the time away from my family. And we do this because we love the community. So when people talk about there is a sacrifice, there is a sacrifice. But at the end, when we love the people and we love our city, the sacrifice is well worth it. So again, I just want to say thank you to each of you. And for me, I came in and I just want to share with you what my thought process was. I was thinking of what are the qualifications that I was looking for, and then want to share with what you brought. And then for me, you know, I came with, okay, I'm going to have two candidates, but it's hard because you guys are all great candidates. But what my thought process was coming in here was really looking at obviously qualifications, and a lot of you presented a lot of that in the application process and what you provided. And although we know this is a short-term appointment, I think for me, it was looking for someone that already had some background in regards to understanding what the community issues were, understanding the role of city council and local government, because that's really critical. I think as community members, when we're advocates, it's one role. You know, I worked for local government for over 20 years, and I was a staffer. And when I came on this side as an elected official, some of those roles change, right? Because you have to really be looking at the policy now and really supporting staff and making sure that those policies are equitable for everyone. So I was looking at someone that came with some of that expertise, knowledge, already understanding, since it's a short-term appointment. And then I was also looking at someone that was not directed by special interest, someone that was here, that was really interested in the community and at the forefront was able to represent all the voices in the community. And for me, it's especially those voices that are not the squeaky wheels, because we know those, but those voices that are often not heard unless we go out there and unless we're paying attention, unless we're involved in the community. Then we hear some of those voices that don't come to our council, that don't, you know, engage in the public comments, that don't engage in other forms of communication. And I know as this council, we've worked really hard and we have a lot of work to do, but to engage our community. So community engagement is a big piece of how we know what's happening. I was also looking at someone who was able to bring additional resources to the city. As many of you pointed out, the city is growing, and I grew up here. I mean, I'm a native of Soledad too. I was born in Salinas, but grew up here. And have seen the city grow tremendously from, you know, I grew up in Metz Road, right across from the cemetery, and there was nothing there. And obviously now there's a lot of development. So looking at someone that understood what some of those resources were needed and how do we bring those to Salinas, to Soledad. Sorry, I worked for Salinas for 20 years, but how do we bring those to Soledad? And also looking at ensuring that we have different leadership. That we're thinking of the future needs of our residents. And as our city is expanding, what kind of policies are we putting in place that are really fair and equitable and transparent, right? We've heard a lot, especially in this last landscape in regards to government, and there's still a lot of distrust for government. And how do we make sure that we're planting those policies and setting those policies that are really equitable and really foster trust within our residents at all levels? And I was also looking for someone that is able to listen, and I heard a lot that from each one of you is able to listen, and to agree to disagree, that we may not always have the same, perspective, opinions, or ideas, but at the end of the day, that our focus is what's in the best interest of our city, what's in the best interest of our residents, and how do we come together in that platform? And also someone that's able to look at the regional scale. I mean, I know typically as elected officials working at the local level, we tend to look at what's important for our city. But I've also learned as an elected official, and I have the privilege of working for a state senator, but I've also learned that to be able to bring the resources to our residents, we need to get outside of Soledad, and we need to be working at the regional scale. We need to be working at the state level, and we need to be working at the federal level to be able to bring in all those resources. So kind of that was my mindset coming into this process. So again, I'm just really hopeful and encouraged because the 4 applications that we receive, or you just come with tremendous qualities. And I'll start just my final deliberations and my comments is, you know, I want to say to Eva, and I've known Eva forever, and many of what the public spoke today that spoke in support of her understand that Eva is not just a community resident. Eva is a public servant that has a love for the city. And that love has not just started in the last couple of years, but I think, you know, her love was from the time that she was, you know, as she mentioned, and you know, learning that from her parents, engaging already early on, engaging in high school, continuing that engagement in her church, continuing that engagement in the city. And I don't know who doesn't know Eva, because I think most of our residents know who Eva is. So for me, it's, you know, Eva has been someone that just has been a fixture in our community and is always open and available to be able to do whatever is needed. Eva's gonna do it. And so I really appreciate what she brings to the table. And just as a matter of disclosure for our residents, I also want to make sure that I say that I had recommended Eva some time ago also for the Planning Commission when we had an opening seat for the Planning Commission. And I want to make sure I say that out loud in a transparent manner for our residents, because I saw what Eva brought to the table since then. I saw what Eva meant to our community. So thank you, Eva, for what you do. Carol, you know, being born in Salinas, raised in Soledad, having the housing authority background, I so appreciate, you know, what you bring to the table. Housing has been, for those that know me, know that housing has been something that has been really dear and near to my heart. So I really appreciate your top priorities being housing, especially with the crisis that we have. Youth and more education, and really bringing in more of those resources to the city of Soledad. So, you know, I really appreciate those assets that you bring, and I hope that we continue to see all of you continue to be part of the city. Eugene, thank you so much. I think your story really taught me about resiliency. And I know sometimes we don't realize that, but growing up in Soledad, you know, I kept telling people I went to college, but I also grew up here, and I said, I'm not gonna stay here, right? As soon as I can get out of here, I'm out of here, and I'm never coming back. But I did. I went to college, went to Fresno State, came back home, and it wasn't my intention. But now see myself as a mayor. It's been an incredible experience. But I also know that my story is similar to yours, right? It was about resiliency. And you have those characteristics of being resilient. But for me, it's also thinking of all of those other youth that don't have those characteristics, right? How do we make sure that we give them those support systems so they can continue to be successful and to do what you did, right? Go into the military. Thank you so much for the service to our country. And thank you so much for, I think for me, a couple of the things that you said, and I really want to make a note of, because you said you believe in accountability. I think that's something that, you know, what I came into my platform was accountability, ethical behavior, transparent, diversity, and being respectful. So thank you so much for that. And last but not least, Joseph, you know, I think for me, when I talked about the qualifications and wanting to make sure that I had someone that had experience and really served the community, that was my thought process, but you really gave me a different perspective as well in terms of your experience, what you do, especially in the urban planning political side. I think, you know, what I've learned as a council member, that if we don't understand urban planning, it's really difficult, right? Because a lot of the decisions we make really are about land use. So that's really important. And for me, what you talked about integrity and service to others and dignity as part of your core values, and those are the same that I share as well. And your service, working in the different school systems with the youth, I think that is one of the things that this council has really been keen on looking at. How do we really support the youth that we have here to give them those systems that they need so they don't fall through the cracks and that they can be successful. So I think for me, you know, you touched on the fiesta days, and unless you're from Soledad, then you appreciate what those fiesta days used to do, right? And that they bonded us as a community and they brought us together as a community. And, you know, we need volunteers for that. And I think this is a time where this is a group and you guys are at the forefront of really engaging others to make sure that we continue with that volunteer base, because that's what we need to continue to offer these memories, right, to our community and these opportunities to bond each other as a city. So thank you so much for mentioning that, and thank you so much for what you do for your students too as well. So with all of that, thank you for giving me the opportunity to deliberate. But with all of that, I know, you know, my top candidates would be Eva, because she has that service to the community, because she has been instrumental in many different facets of our community. And then, you know, Joseph, you brought a different perspective for me as well, and you would be someone that I would highly consider. But I also want to make sure that, you know, I have recommendations for all of you, like where you can serve, because we have all these opportunities. So I want to make sure that, you know, as Councilmember Cabrera said, unfortunately, we only have one seat now, right? We have future seats, so I hope you stay involved. But because we only have one seat right now, we do have to make a determination on that. But I just want to say again, from the bottom of my heart, and I think, you know, I speak on behalf of the council as well, thank you so much to each one of you. Okay, so with that, then we will move on to our next process of our the appointment process for tonight. So now after we've concluded the deliberation part, then we will move on to see if there's any
Through the chair, before we move, I want to thank you for your service.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sorry, thanks.
Yeah, so I would like to entertain a motion to appoint Eva Bañuelos to the vacancy.
Second that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. So we will, can we do a roll call? Yeah. Yeah, let's do a roll call vote, so that way it's clear to our residents and clear to those that are joining us also via Zoom.
Mayor Ana Velasquez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Maria Corlejo,
No.
Councilmember Fernando Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilmember Fernando Ansaldo Sanchez.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion carries with a 3-1, sorry, a 3-1 vote. So with that, then congratulations, Eva, on being appointed as our next city council member that will be seated in June the 5th. So I will turn it over to our city manager for any final comments before we conclude.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. I thought it was a really great process. And I do want to reiterate that Darlene will be reaching out to the other 3 members. We do have seats. Actually, we have some potential seats even on the planning commission, because some of the folks are ending their time on the planning commission. So we have the planning commission, Measure S, potentially Measure Y, and I think I mentioned the rec committee. So we hope that you will consider serving on these. We also have the general plan advisory committee, which council member Ansaldo Sanchez had to step down on. So we actually have vacancies on that. So I hope you will consider your service. But I did want to thank again the council for leading such a great process, for guiding, the staff in this process. And I wanted to thank and acknowledge our city attorney, Mike Rodriguez, and see if he wanted to say anything before I conclude, and also thank Stephen and, Darlene, and thank you also to the audience who, there was a few snafus during the meeting, so thanks for working with us and allowing for our low-tech timer as we. So I don't know if our city attorney wanted to add anything about.
Yeah, through the chair, wonderful process tonight. Sorry, I'm not with you. I'm a little under the weather, but we need to adopt resolution number 6094. That memorializes the vote that was taken this evening, and then Darlene can add in the blanks. It had blanks as to the name of the person that was chosen, and then she can add in the vote count as well.
Through the chair, do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
Yes.
And so I move that we adopt resolution, what is the resolution?
6094.
6094.
Okay.
I second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? Do we need to do a roll call vote again?
We can do it.
Yeah, let's do a roll call vote just to keep consistent.
And just to clarify, the resolution that you're adopting is just memorializing the vote. So when you're thinking about it, it's not reiterating the vote. You already.
It's
took
just
the vote.
it's a procedural matter so that we have an administrative record. We have a record in the form of a resolution of the actual action that was taken, as opposed to the minutes of the meeting or the video. So it's always good to have something like this in terms of an appointment.
And the vote that was taken of 3-1 will be reflected in that resolution.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, then it doesn't require for us to have a roll call vote, and it's just memorializing what's already been voted on. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstain? Any opposed? Okay, so resolution 6094 has been approved. So without further ado, if there is no further items of business for tonight, so we adjourn this